Have you ever tried to change a habit and felt like you were pushing a boulder uphill? You start strong for a few days, sometimes weeks, and then something small. A late night, a bad mood, or a missed cue sends you right back to where you began. If that feels familiar, you are not weak. You are human. The good news is that self-discipline is not some magical quality that a few people are born with, and the rest are not. It is a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned, practiced, and improved. Welcome to BetterSelf. Here we build practical habits for personal growth while helping you improve your English. In this video, we will explore the science of building self-discipline. We will break it down into clear parts: what discipline really means, how your brain supports or fights change, how to design your environment, how small actions lead to big results, and what to do when you slip. Each chapter is a small lesson and a practice you can use today. Listen slowly, follow along, and try the short activities tucked into each chapter to make the ideas real. Chapter 1. What self-discipline really means. Self-discipline is often confused with willpower. People imagine someone sitting at a desk, resisting every temptation with iron will and never missing a target. That image is incomplete. Self-discipline is a pattern of choices over time that shape who you become. It is not a single heroic act, but a series of small decisions that align with a long-term goal. Think of it as steering a ship. You do not steer by holding the wheel with all your strength every second. You make small adjustments, check the map, and correct course when waves push you off track. To understand self-discipline, imagine a garden. If you plant seeds and water them, you will not see a full harvest in a day. You will see small signs: a sprout, a leaf, soil that holds moisture. The repeated act of caring, watering, weeding, protecting from pests, is discipline. Over time, the garden grows without you having to fight every hour. Self-discipline works the same way. It relies on repeated, reliable actions that produce results over time. Another way to see self-discipline is to compare two types of motivation. There is hot motivation, which comes from emotion and excitement. It gets you started. You feel motivated after a powerful talk, a new year, or a fresh decision. Then there is cool motivation, or the steady, calm commitment that continues when emotions fade. Self-discipline is that cool motivation. It is the system that helps you do the right thing, even when you do not feel inspired. Think of a runner preparing for a marathon. The first week, the runner brims with energy. But in week 6, the training gets harder and the body protests. The runner who learns discipline plans workouts, rests properly, listens to the body, and keeps showing up even on days when enthusiasm is low. Discipline also includes knowing when to rest. It is not punishment. It is intelligent care. As you listen, try this small practice. Close your eyes for a moment and picture one habit you want to build. Make it small and specific. Instead of "I want to read more," say "I will read 1 page before bed." Notice the feeling in your body when you make that simple promise. That feeling is important because it connects your mind to action. Place that promise somewhere you will see it, in your phone or on a sticky note. The first step of discipline is clarity. Stories reveal this idea clearly. There is a simple story of a baker who wakes at 3 a.m. Every day, the baker arrives at the oven, mixes dough, and prepares bread for the market. Many people think the baker is motivated every morning. The truth is, the baker has a system, a routine alarm, a prepared workspace, and a ritual that removes friction. The baker does not rely on inspiration. The baker follows a plan. Over time, small, repeated acts produce a bakery that people love. The difference between a plan and willpower is important. Willpower is like sprinting. It works for short bursts, but tires quickly. A plan is like a long, steady climb. It uses pacing, tools, and small steps. Discipline is not about being harsh with yourself. It is about building a reliable system that helps you do what you want to do in the long run. Finally, remember identity. When your actions match your identity, when you see yourself as someone who reads, exercises, or writes, discipline becomes easier. You do not force yourself. You act in ways that fit your self-image. So in the next few days, try to act in a very small way that matches the identity you want. If you want to be a writer, write 1 line. If you want to be fit, stretch for 2 minutes. These tiny acts are the building blocks of disciplined behavior. Chapter 2. How the brain supports and foils discipline. Your brain is the engine behind discipline, and it has 2 important parts to understand: the thinking brain and the feeling brain. The thinking brain plans, imagines the future, and understands long-term benefits. The feeling brain cares about comfort, immediate rewards, and avoiding pain. When these 2 parts disagree, you feel a tug of war. You want to study, but your body wants to check your phone. Neuroscience gives us useful metaphors to make sense of this struggle. Imagine a small, impatient monkey and a wise rider on the back of a horse. The monkey seeks immediate pleasure, snacks, games, social likes. The rider knows the route, the destination, and the long-term benefits. The rider can guide the monkey, but only if the path is clear and not overloaded with temptations. This image helps explain self-discipline. Your rational self must arrange the environment and the routine so that the feeling brain does not win every argument. The prefrontal cortex, the thinking part, is where planning, attention, and decision-making happen. It is strong, but easily tired. Willpower is a limited resource. The prefrontal cortex works like a muscle. After heavy use, it feels weaker and makes poor choices. This is why you are more likely to eat junk food or skip a workout after a stressful day. The brain is conserving energy and chooses easy rewards. But there are smart ways to work with this system, rather than against it. One key idea is to reduce the number of decisions you must make. The fewer choices your thinking brain must handle, the more energy it saves for important decisions. For example, successful people often have morning routines that eliminate small choices: the same clothes, the same breakfast, the same start to the workday. When you reduce decision fatigue, you keep your thinking brain fresh for the tasks that matter. Another useful idea is habit automation. Habits move behavior from the thinking brain to a lower energy system. When a habit is formed, you do not need to decide every time. The environment and the routine trigger the action automatically. That is why brushing your teeth is easy. The cue, the routine, and the reward are consistent. The habit loop, cue, routine, reward, is a powerful model for building discipline. The brain also responds strongly to immediate rewards. This explains why digital apps and social media are so addictive. They provide fast, small rewards. The challenge is to create immediate, small rewards for positive actions too. If you finish a 30-minute study session, allow yourself a short, satisfying break. If you complete a workout, enjoy a hot shower with a mindful moment. These small rewards train your brain to value the disciplined actions. Sleep, food, and stress management also affect brain function. When you are tired or hungry, the thinking part of the brain is weaker. It is harder to make good choices. Simple habits like regular sleep, balanced meals, and brief physical activity restore cognitive energy and support discipline. Think of these as the brain's maintenance routine. Here is a simple experiment you can try today. For 1 day, notice how many decisions you make in the morning before noon. Pay attention to decision fatigue. Then pick one small decision to remove tomorrow. Prepare your clothes, plan your breakfast, or set a task list. See how that change affects your sense of control. This small practice shows how the brain benefits from less noise. Stories make this real. Consider a musician who practices 1 hour per day at the same place and time. At first, practice feels difficult. Over months, the routine becomes automatic. The musician's brain recognizes the cue, the instrument on the table, and begins the practice without a long mental negotiation. That musician did not rely on endless willpower. They arranged their world so the brain could do the rest. Finally, use kindness with yourself. Your brain is doing its best with the resources it has. Understanding its limits is not an excuse to give up. It is an invitation to design better systems and to use gentle, consistent practice. Discipline is built by structure, not by force. Chapter 3. Building Habits. The Power of Tiny Steps. Big changes look attractive on the cover of a plan, but tiny steps are the engine that keeps change going. When you try to do too much at once, your brain and your life push back. A better path is to shrink the change until it seems trivial, and then expand slowly. This method is sometimes called the 2-minute rule, or the tiny habits approach, and it works because it lowers resistance. Imagine you want to learn a language. Saying, "I will study 2 hours a day" feels like a mountain. But saying, "I will open my book for 2 minutes" feels easy. Often, opening the book leads to 10 or 20 minutes of study. The trick is to make the initial step so small that your brain does not feel threatened. Small steps stack. Over months, tiny habits compound into meaningful skill. There is a strong psychological reason this works. When you start with a small, achievable action, your brain registers success. That feeling of success releases small amounts of dopamine, which motivates you to continue. Over time, your habit becomes linked to feelings of competence. This positive feedback loop helps the habit persist. Practice this right now. Choose one task you want to build into your life. Shrink it until it feels almost silly. If you want to exercise, start with 1 push-up, 1 squat, or 1 minute of stretching. If you want to write, commit to 1 sentence. Do that small step every day for a week. Notice how often the tiny step turns into a longer session. The goal is consistency, not intensity. Stories of small changes often surprise people. There is a well-known example of a teacher who struggled to read more books. She decided to read 1 page every night. In 1 year, that small habit turned into dozens of books. The secret is that the tiny step removed the friction of getting started. Once started, the momentum carried her forward. Another helpful idea is habit pairing. Attach a new habit to an existing one. If you always drink coffee in the morning, use that time to practice a short vocabulary drill. Your existing habit becomes the cue for the new habit. The brain loves patterns. By connecting actions, you create a chain of behaviors that support each other. It is also useful to set clear implementation intentions. Instead of a vague plan like "I will study later," say "I will study vocabulary at 7 p.m. in my kitchen for 10 minutes. Make the when, where, and what specific. The more precise your plan, the less your mind must negotiate later. This clarity reduces the chance of skipping the action. Failure is part of the process. Missing a day is normal. The danger is not failing once, but thinking you are a failure. When you miss your habit, respond with curiosity. Ask what happened and adapt. Sometimes, you adjust the habit to fit your life better. Other times, you change the cue or the environment. The important thing is recovery, not perfection. Practical tools make tiny steps easier. Use a simple habit tracker to mark your progress. Seeing a streak encourages continuation. But do not make tracking a punishment. Let it be gentle data that helps you learn. The reward for tracking is seeing growth and feeling proud of small wins. Finally, remember that tiny steps can scale. A habit that began as a 1-minute practice becomes a 30-minute routine after weeks of consistent growth. Patience matters. Large transformations are almost always the result of small, daily investments. Keep your standards kind and your practice steady. Chapter 4. Designing your environment for success. If willpower is limited, then design becomes your most powerful ally. Environment shapes behavior more strongly than motivation. When you change the places and cues around you, you make the desired action easier and the undesired action harder. This chapter is about practical design choices you can make to support discipline without more willpower. Begin by noticing the cues in your daily life. A cue can be physical, like a phone on your desk, or social, like a friend who invites you to watch TV. Cues trigger routines. To change a routine, change the cue. If you want to write in the morning, place your notebook on top of your laptop the night before. If you want to eat healthier snacks, keep fruits visible and put sweets in a hard-to-reach place. Small, physical moves send a clear signal to your brain. Think about friction. Every action that supports a habit should be low friction. Friction means effort that stops you. If your gym clothes are in a closet across the house, you will be less likely to exercise. Remove friction by preparing in advance. Lay out clothes, pack a bag, or set a reminder. Likewise, increase friction for bad habits. If you want to reduce social media time, delete addictive apps from your phone or log out after each use. Each extra step adds friction that helps your rational brain win. Create dedicated zones. When you reserve a physical space for a particular activity, your brain begins to associate that space with the behavior. If you have a small corner for reading or writing, use it only for that purpose. The space becomes a cue. Over time, simply sitting in that space will trigger focus. This principle applies to work, study, exercise, and rest. Social environment matters too. We are social creatures, and other people influence our habits more than we might think. Surround yourself with people who model the behaviors you want. Join a study group, a running club, or an online community with similar goals. Social support provides accountability and reduces the burden of self-discipline. When others expect you to show up, you are more likely to do so. Technology can be both a help and a hindrance. Use technology to automate decisions and reduce friction. Set timers, schedule recurring tasks, and use apps that block distractions during focus time. At the same time, be intentional about boundaries. Turn off push notifications, use grayscale mode on your phone, or set a no-screen hour in the evening. These small design choices preserve attention and energy. An environment hack many successful people use is the 1-degree change. Make one small, easy adjustment and let it compound. For instance, move your phone out of your bedroom. That one change improves sleep, reduces morning scrolling, and increases mental clarity. Another example is preparing your lunch the night before. That simple act saves time in the morning and influences healthier food choices. You can try a short experiment this week. Pick one habit you want to support and change one element of your environment to make the habit easier. If you want to journal, place a notebook and pen on your pillow at night. If you want to practice an instrument, leave it on a stand where you can see it. Test the change for a week and notice the difference. Stories of small environmental shifts often surprise. A writer I know struggled with procrastination. He moved his laptop into a different room where the only thing available was writing software and a timer. The new room had no television, no snacks, and a clear desk. Within days, he noticed he wrote more and procrastinated less. The environment did not do the work for him, but it removed many temptations. Designing your environment is not about perfection. It is about making good choices easier and bad choices harder. Start with small edits, be consistent, and allow your environment to do some of the discipline work for you. Chapter 5. Identity, Beliefs, and the Story You Tell Yourself. Discipline becomes easier when your actions match your identity. Changing your story, how you see yourself, is one of the most powerful ways to build lasting habits. When you define yourself as a certain kind of person, your behavior naturally follows. This chapter explores identity-based change and how to shift beliefs quietly and effectively. Begin with a simple question. Who do you want to be? The answer is not a list of goals, but a short label, like I am a reader, I am fit, or I am a calm person. Labels guide behavior. If you say, I am someone who runs, you start to act in ways that fit that identity. Identity is not fixed. It is shaped by the stories you tell yourself and the evidence you gather through action. One practical method is to use identity-based affirmations tied to small actions. Instead of saying, "I want to be a healthy person," say, "I am the kind of person who drinks water before each meal." This phrasing ties identity to a specific, observable behavior. When you do the action, you gather evidence that supports the new identity. Over time, your belief changes because you have proof. Stories help illustrate this point. Think of a teacher who always felt scattered and disorganized. She decided to become an organized teacher. She began with one small practice, preparing her lesson plan the night before. Each time she completed the plan, she proved to herself that she could be organized. The next step grew naturally. She scheduled grading blocks, sorted materials, and created a tidy workspace. The identity provided the direction, and small actions provided the proof. Another useful idea is self-signaling. When you act in a way that matches your ideal identity, you send a signal to yourself and others. For example, sending a brief email to confirm a meeting signals that you are reliable. Over time, these signals accumulate and shape the way you see yourself. Self-signaling is gentle and internal, but it builds a strong foundation for disciplined behavior. Beliefs can also be limiting. If you tell yourself, "I am not a morning person," you create an excuse for avoiding early routines. Instead of fighting the belief directly, test it with small experiments. Try waking 30 minutes earlier for a week to read or exercise. Gather data. You may find that the label was only partly true, and your identity can expand. When you face setbacks, protect your identity by separating behavior from self-worth. Missing a workout does not mean you are lazy. It means you had a missed action. The most disciplined people act in alignment with their identity, most of the time, not all the time. Respond to slips with a learning mindset. Ask what happened and how you will adapt. Another strategy is to find role models who embody the identity you want. This does not mean comparing yourself or aiming for perfection. It means noticing the small habits of people you admire and borrowing what fits your life. Observing someone who lives a similar life and makes good choices provides a practical map for identity change. Here's a short exercise to do now. Write one sentence that describes who you want to be in the present tense. I am a person who. Make it specific and small. Then list one tiny action today that proves that identity. Doing that action will give you immediate evidence and a small dopamine boost. Repeat the practice daily and watch your sense of self shift. Identity change is not fast, but it is durable. When your daily habits align with your self-image, discipline becomes less of a struggle and more of a natural expression of who you are. Chapter 6: Reward Systems. How to make discipline feel good. Our brains learn through rewards. When an action brings pleasure or relief, the brain stores the memory and repeats the behavior. The challenge is that many disciplined actions are not immediately rewarding. Studying for an exam, saving money, or practicing an instrument may feel effortful with rewards that appear much later. To build discipline, we must create immediate, meaningful rewards that make the process enjoyable. Start by reframing reward. A reward does not have to be a big treat. It can be a small, satisfying signal that tells your brain this was worth it. For example, after finishing a focused work session, play a favorite song, enjoy a hot tea, or take 5 minutes to stretch. These small rituals give your brain a quick payoff and help link effort to pleasure. A useful technique is to pair a habit you want to build with something you already enjoy. This is called temptation. For example, allow yourself to listen to an audiobook only while you exercise, or watch a favorite show while folding laundry. By pairing the desirable action with an enjoyable reward, you create an incentive that makes the disciplined behavior more attractive. Immediate feedback is also powerful. When you see progress, even small progress, you feel motivated to continue. Use simple measures. Check a box on a calendar, record minutes practiced, or count pages read. Visual evidence of progress triggers a sense of accomplishment. The habit tracker is not a magic tool, but it provides a steady stream of small rewards that keep you moving forward. Consider the concept of variable rewards. In psychology, variable rewards are unpredictable, and thus more motivating. This is why slot machines are so addictive. You do not need to make your discipline addictive, but a small element of variation can help. For example, if you study, sometimes reward yourself with a short, unexpected treat, a special snack, a call with a friend, or 20 minutes of a hobby. The unpredictability makes each session slightly more exciting. Social rewards are important too. Praise from others, or even the quiet satisfaction of helping someone, can be a powerful motivator. Share your progress with a friend, join a group, or celebrate small wins publicly. The social recognition becomes a reward that reinforces disciplined behavior. Another idea is to redesign tasks so they include rewarding elements. For example, if writing feels hard, start with a short creative warm-up that you enjoy. If exercise feels boring, add music or a scenic route. The goal is to make the core activity itself more pleasurable, not to distract from it. Over time, as skill and confidence grow, the intrinsic rewards of competence and mastery become stronger. Try a simple experiment this week. Pick one habit and choose a small immediate reward you will give yourself after every successful session. Make sure the reward is meaningful but not destructive to your goals. Track each session and notice how the reward affects your motivation. You may find that the habit becomes easier to start and maintain. Finally, be careful with rewards that undermine long-term goals. Avoid using unhealthy treats that cancel progress. The best rewards support the habit loop without creating new problems. Over time, as the habit strengthens, you can reduce external rewards and let internal satisfaction take over. But at the beginning, smart rewards make discipline feel possible and even enjoyable. Chapter 7. Planning, Time Blocking, and Systems That Work. Discipline grows faster when it has structure. Planning and systems turn vague goals into specific actions. One of the most effective tools is time blocking, scheduling chunks of time for specific tasks. When you block time, you prioritize actions and protect them from distraction. This chapter will show simple ways to plan your day so you can follow through with discipline. Begin with a weekly plan. Look ahead and choose your 3 most important outcomes for the week. These are not busy tasks, but meaningful results. Once you identify them, break them into specific actions and assign time blocks. When you schedule a task, treat the appointment as real. Put it in your calendar and honor it as you would a meeting. Daily planning matters too. Each morning or the night before, make a short list of 3 to 5 tasks you will complete that day. Keep the list focused and realistic. Small, completed tasks build momentum. At the end of the day, review what you finished and what needs to move forward. This simple loop creates clarity and reduces the mental weight of a long to-do list. Time blocking works in part because it creates boundaries. When you assign a block for deep work, you commit to undistracted focus for that time. Protect the block with technology tools. Turn off notifications, set your phone to do not disturb, and have necessary materials ready. Even a 25-minute block of focused work can produce meaningful progress when repeated consistently. Batching similar tasks is another powerful system. Grouping emails, calls, and administrative work into one block prevents constant switching. The brain loses energy when it transitions between different types of tasks, so batching saves cognitive resources. Reserve separate times for creative work and reactive tasks. Use rhythms, not only rigid schedules. Life is unpredictable, so combine structure with flexibility. Establish morning and evening routines to stabilize your day. Morning routines set the tone, and evening routines prepare you for tomorrow. Routines automate important choices and reduce decision fatigue. Accountability systems enhance planning. Share your weekly commitments with a partner, a coach, or a group. Publicly committing to a goal increases follow-through. Accountability can be kind and collaborative. It simply adds another layer of social motivation. Create simple checklists for repeatable processes. When tasks are routine, checklists reduce mistakes and speed action. A checklist for preparing a presentation or organizing a study session saves time and mental energy, and it ensures quality. One practical test is to try time blocking for 3 days. Pick 2 blocks each day, one for focused work and one for a meaningful personal habit. Schedule them and honor them. At the end of 3 days, reflect on what changed. Did you feel more productive or calmer? Adjust your blocks based on what you learned. Stories show how systems outlast willpower. A small business owner I know runs a tight weekly plan. Monday is planning, Tuesday and Wednesday are deep work, Thursday is meetings, and Friday is review. This structure allows her to make steady progress without constant stress. Systems like this act as trusted scaffolding for discipline. Finally, remember that planning is only useful if it leads to action. Treat your plan as a living tool. Adjust, simplify, and repeat. The goal is steady progress, not perfect planning. With simple systems, discipline becomes an organized practice rather than a daily battle. Chapter 8. Handling Setbacks, Resilience and Self-Compassion. Setbacks are part of any journey. When building discipline, you will miss days, slip into old habits, or face unexpected life events that derail your plans. How you respond to setbacks matters more than the setback itself. This chapter teaches ways to recover quickly, learn from mistakes, and build resilience without harsh self-criticism. First, separate behavior from identity. When you miss a workout or skip a study session, do not label yourself as lazy or undisciplined. That label is a permanent judge, not a useful teacher. Instead, view the missed action as data. Ask what caused the slip and how you can make the next attempt more likely to succeed. This gentle curiosity leads to solutions. Use the if-then recovery plan. Decide in advance how you will respond when you miss a habit. For example, if I miss my morning run, then I will do a 5-minute stretch before bed. Having a plan reduces shame and speeds recovery. It also signals to your brain that you have control and are prepared for challenges. Normalize occasional breaks. Discipline is not relentless self-denial. It includes rest and celebration. Sometimes you need to pause and recharge. The key is to return to your practice after a planned or unplanned break. The longer you stay away, the harder it becomes to restart. Treat breaks as temporary, not permanent. Reflect with kindness. After a setback, take 5 minutes to reflect on what happened without blame. Write a quick note. What went well recently? What challenge occurred? And one small adjustment. This short reflection helps you learn and prevents repeating the same pattern. Use accountability gently. Tell a friend or coach when you struggle. Supportive accountability provides encouragement and practical help. It is easier to return to a habit when someone else believes in your ability to change. Another useful strategy is to lower the bar temporarily. If life becomes chaotic, reduce the habit to its smallest form rather than abandoning it. If you cannot run for 30 minutes, run for 5. If you cannot write for an hour, write 1 paragraph. The small action preserves the identity and keeps the habit alive during difficult times. Look for patterns. If setbacks happen frequently at a certain time or after a specific trigger, identify the pattern and change the system. Maybe evenings are too busy for study, so shift study to mornings. Maybe stress triggers overeating, so add a calming ritual before meals. Solving the root cause reduces repeating the same mistake. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is a strategic move that allows you to move forward. When you berate yourself, your energy goes into shame, not improvement. When you forgive and plan, your energy goes into action. Choose the latter. Stories help us cope. Consider an artist who missed her daily practice after a family emergency. Instead of quitting, she wrote for 5 minutes each night for a week. That small step maintained the habit and reminded her that creativity could survive hard times. Over a month, her practice returned to its former length. Finally, celebrate resilience. Each time you recover from a setback, you strengthen your ability to handle future challenges. Resilience is a skill built by experience. Every recovery is a rehearsal for the next one. With kind discipline and adaptive systems, setbacks become signals for improvement rather than reasons to stop. 我有. Chapter 9. Measuring progress and using feedback for growth. Without feedback, you wonder. Measurement provides a compass that helps you adjust and improve. But measurement does not need to be complex. Simple, consistent feedback helps you see what works and what needs changing. This chapter shows how to measure progress in ways that support discipline and learning. Begin with clear, measurable indicators. If your goal is to write a book, measure words written per day. If your goal is to improve fitness, measure consistent workouts or minutes moved. Choose signals that are simple and directly connected to action. Complex metrics are often excuses for inaction. Use visual trackers. A calendar where you mark days you practiced creates a visible streak. Seeing a long chain of completed days is motivating. But do not let the tracker become an obsession. Use it as a gentle guide rather than a shaming tool. The reward is the evidence of progress. Reflect regularly. Set a weekly review time to check what worked and what did not. Ask 3 questions. What did I do well? What challenge blocked me? What is one small change I will try next week? This short reflection converts experience into learning and keeps your practice adaptive. Feedback is more useful when it is timely. Immediate feedback helps you correct course quickly. For example, if you record language practice, listen back and make one small improvement the next time. If you track time spent on focused work, adjust the length of your blocks based on what actually worked. Use external feedback when possible. A coach, teacher, or peer can provide insights you might miss. External feedback shortens the learning curve and highlights blind spots. Seek feedback actively and view it as data, not personal criticism. Be careful with vanity metrics. Social media likes or superficial numbers can distract from true progress. Focus on the metrics that lead to skill and health, not those that make you feel momentarily good. Choose measurements that align with long-term outcomes. Experiment with small changes and track results. Treat your life like a lab. Try a new routine for 2 weeks and measure the outcome. If it helps, keep it. If not, try something else. Iteration builds confidence and refines your systems. Stories highlight this approach. A student who tracked study time found that short, focused sessions were more effective than long, distracted ones. By measuring and adapting, study quality improved and stress fell. Measurement turned vague effort into useful practice. Finally, celebrate the data. When numbers show progress, take a moment to acknowledge it. You deserve recognition for steady action. Use those wins as fuel to continue. Over time, accumulated evidence of progress becomes a powerful source of motivation and proof that disciplined practice works. Discipline is not a punishment. Its purpose is to build freedom, the freedom to choose, create, and live a meaningful life. The final stage of discipline is maintenance, integrating habits into your life so they last and adapt as you grow. This chapter explores how to sustain change long-term and how to make discipline a source of joy rather than burden. First, accept that life changes. What worked in one season may not work in another. Flexibility keeps your systems alive. Review your habits every few months and adjust them to fit your current life. Maybe your work schedule changes or you move cities. Adaptation prevents brittle routines that break under stress. Make habits part of your identity and culture. When your family, workplace, or friend group supports your habits, they become easier to maintain. Encourage a culture of practice, Share rituals, have joint check-ins, and celebrate progress together. Shared discipline is lighter and more enjoyable than solitary struggle. Invest in small rituals. Rituals are habits with meaning. A short pre-work ritual, like lighting a candle or stretching, signals your brain that it is time to focus. Rituals add emotional weight to discipline and make it feel special rather than ordinary. Keep a balance between habits and freedom. Overscheduling every minute can create resentment. Allow time for spontaneous activity and rest. Discipline should increase your capacity for joy, not reduce it. The goal is sustainable excellence, not burnout. Teach others. One of the best ways to maintain your habits is to teach them to someone else. When you explain a habit to a friend or coach a colleague, your own understanding deepens and your commitment strengthens. Sharing also multiplies the benefits of disciplined practice. Plan for life transitions. Big events, children, job changes, or relocation can disrupt habits. Anticipate them and create simple, flexible plans that keep the core of your practice alive. For example, if you travel frequently, plan a portable routine you can do in a hotel room. Review and renew your purpose. Discipline endures when it connects to meaningful values. Regularly remind yourself why you started. When the smallest actions link to a larger purpose, discipline becomes a way to live by intention. Write a short note about your purpose and read it weekly. Celebrate the long game. Discipline yields compound returns. Small daily investments in health, skill, and character grow into substantial advantages over time. Notice the long-term changes in your life: greater confidence, deeper relationships, and improved health. These are the fruits of sustained practice. Stories of long-term maintenance inspire. A teacher I know practiced small daily reading habits for decades. Over time, her knowledge grew, her students benefited, and her life became richer. She did not rely on extreme willpower. She cultivated a steady rhythm that fit her life. Finally, be gentle and persistent. The most disciplined people are often the kindest to themselves. They accept imperfection, recover from slips, and keep moving forward. Discipline becomes not a harsh judge, but a faithful friend that helps you become the person you want to be. We have traveled through 10 chapters of practical science behind self-discipline. We began by redefining discipline as a system of small, repeated choices. We looked inside the brain and learned how to reduce friction, automate habits, and reward effort. We designed environments, shaped identity, handled setbacks with kindness, and built systems that sustain long-term growth. Each chapter offered simple exercises and small experiments you can do today. Remember, self-discipline is not about being perfect. It is about creating systems that help you act consistently on what matters. Start small. Make one tiny change. Track it, reward it, and protect it with your environment and your plan. Over time, the small choices add up to a life you are proud of. If you found this helpful, join our BetterSelf community. Subscribe to the channel to get more lessons that blend personal growth with simple English practice. Share one small habit you will try this week in the comments. Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep being kind to yourself. Discipline is a daily friend, not a judge, and with small, steady steps, you will go far.